Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. Again, starting off with the river breakup map. Nothing going on. Of course, rivers south of the Brooks Range been open now for about a week or more. Noatak River here, some open from start all the way out to the mouth. There are not a lot of reports coming in for this river. And then up to the north, unknown through here. Otherwise, some open areas exist along both the Sagwan and Colville rivers. Moving to yesterday's, or for fire danger, about the same here, Copper River Basin, areas of, high fire danger, and also over the eastern Tanana Valley, or the over toward North Wyandotte there along and north of the eastern Alaska Range. Now for yesterday's satellite imagery, pretty nice day there for the southeast coast. You had some high stuff flowing northward and then northeastward across mainly the northern areas, but temperatures down to the south, sunshine, 60s, lower 70s, especially over towards Stewart. And the main front right through here near just on the east side of Kodiak Island, south to north flow moisture right into the Kenai Peninsula there in south central Alaska, breaking up as it crosses the mountainous areas. And then upslope areas picking it up again to a lesser extent, mostly along the Alaska Range, both to the west and to the north. And a lot of clouds up into the Fairbanks area, spreading all the way up to the Brooks Range. A little bit of a breakout through here, but some afternoon convection firing up as well. A trough there, or a cloud band, associated with an upper level trough over the western interior, then breaking out again, but mostly cloudy for the Bering Sea. Some sunshine up along the central and eastern Arctic coast yesterday. And then the next system out there to the west, we had low pressure right about in this position, front right through here, and then some other moisture sliding off to the east-southeast there, bringing rain to Adak and Atka. And you can see, though, eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, pretty nice day, right up into northeastern Bristol Bay. Well, for today, that low out west has dropped down. Now it's about this position there, southwest Bering Sea, and there's still roughly a front riding right through here, kind of a lot of banding to the moisture there, but looks like the frontal boundary or the back edge roughly right in this position, and wrapping back into the low center to the east, no wind and mostly cloudy skies, no precipitation though. And then we've got low pressure right up in here over the southeast interior, associated with an upper level low and cold air aloft. And also down here, you can see a circulation right in that area and a band of clouds here right up along the southeast coast, bringing a little bit more moisture into that area than what I thought would be yesterday. And still the main rain area right through here, but really getting broke up as it crosses the mountain ranges. Still about the same focus for the precipitation, cloudy skies all across the southeast interior, even the Copper River Basin, a few breaks there to the west. And then north of the mountains, more in the way of sunshine there, 40-mile country, but generally a mostly cloudy day here across much of the interior. And as that rolls along, there you've seen the sunshine filling in this afternoon with clouds, after a little bit of convection there, and so the cumulus building up, Seward Peninsula, Yukon Delta areas, and not so much here to the east. And looks like some sunshine there out over the central north slope, but lots of clouds here over the Bering Sea. Maybe a few breaks here along and just off the coast there, but not much in the way of clearing, possibly a little bit more here for the Alaska Peninsula. On the chart today, here's that low that came northward along with the upper level system swinging in from the east. So lots of showers back out through here, southern Kuskokwim Valley, Alaska Range, and then the frontal boundary roughly in about this position, weakening, but still a lot of south to north flow, surges of moisture bringing rainfall. Heaviest again, Kenai Peninsula, on up into western Prince William Sound with some moisture slipping on to the east there, more showery conditions getting to the inland areas, and then just partly mostly sunny skies over the extreme eastern interior. Back into the mostly cloudy skies into the central areas, and then clouds building this afternoon over the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. Weak high pressure over the northern Bering Sea here just west of Gamble there. That's creating light wind conditions, so areas of fog out through this area. That pattern extends right up across the Chukchi Sea and much of the Arctic Ocean and along the Arctic coast there. Clouds and some scattered showers up here over the north and northwest from the Brooks Range on back out toward the northwest coast. And then this front, roughly a low center there, 992 millibars, not all that strong, and really not much of a gradient here across the Aleutians, even in advance of the frontal boundary. Maybe winds 15 to maybe as high as 22 knots, really not much at all, but areas of light rain here and fog trying to edge its way in over toward the Nikolsky area. A little bit more of a breeze on the back side of that northwesterlies, probably kicking up 25, 30 miles an hour again out of the northwest. But on the southeast coast here, surface high pressure along and off the coast, but again, a lot of mid and high level moisture moving in, and even some lower level moisture right through here. But sunshine, or the areas that saw the sun today, pushed well into the 70s. And for the forecast for tonight, this front continues to edge eastward, mostly weakening. Really not a big push to the east or anywhere, just continued southerly wind flow aloft, and that'll keep the moisture in along the North Gulf Coast, gradually becoming a little less heavy than what you've seen, and a little more intermittent, tending to become more showery. Still looking at the downslope area, so much of Cook Inlet from Kachemak Bay northward into the Knik Arm area, Palmer, Madanuska Valley. Not looking for much precipitation at all through tonight. A little bit better chance there in the upslope areas of the western Alaska Range, and some of that's persisting down into the northeast Bristol Bay area. And with this weak low, mostly cloudy, scattered showers thinning out as you head up to the northeast there. And fair conditions, variable clouds, Tanana Valley, back to the Seward Peninsula, northward to the Brooks Range, risk of a few showers from the northern Kuskokwim Valley, and then just really mostly cloudy, variably cloudy, probably mostly cloudy there for the Arctic coast, isolated showers. Winds on the increase now for the central and east side there, picking up to brisk wind advisory levels later tonight and definitely for tomorrow. But the eastern Bering Sea, from the Chukchi southward, light wind conditions. We've got just 3 isobars here from Russia all the way down to the Alaska Peninsula. So not much in the way of any wind going on, maybe some clearing. And then areas of light rain with this front here, and a little bit breezier again back toward the west, especially in this portion here where the gradient's tighter, but that's way out to the west and to the north. So for tomorrow, that whole low complex slips on down to the south. They're sitting just north of Amchitka Island, so cloudy, wet conditions, kind of breezy, and still periods of rain tomorrow. Low clouds, fog, probably looking at IFR all day for Adak and Atka, westward to the, well, not to the Komodorsky, say to Attu Island. Kind of a cloudy day now for the eastern Aleutians, chance of rain late. No change eastern Bering Sea, lots of low clouds and fog, or lots of clouds, areas of fog. Also some areas of sunshine here, right along the coast, possibly St. Lawrence Island, and that pattern extends up across the Chukchi Sea. Could see some sunshine here, Kivalina on up to Red Dog, but mostly cloudy skies, gusty east winds along the Arctic coast there, especially in the marine areas, and not so much along the coast or inland there with rain or showers. Looks like it'll be most concentrated again today right through this area. It could be an isolated thunderstorm as well. Otherwise, leftover moisture here, mostly cloudy, but increasing clearing in the afternoon here, probably Cook Inlet with less in the way of showers, but then that'll be bucking the rise in temperatures. So kind of picking up the showers maybe in the afternoon, but nothing too serious. And another nice day here, temperature 65 to 72 over the eastern interior. And the southeast coast, again, that shower chance, or I think I forgot to mention, chance of showers here on the south coast tonight with some of that moisture rolling in. And actually that could last through tomorrow, but optimistically, high pressure there. Just go with partly to mostly sunny or cloudy with a risk of a shower. And moving on to Tuesday, same forecast, not much change there. This front weak way to the southwest Weak trough here, maybe slipping some shower activity up to the Queen Charlottes. Otherwise, partly to mostly day with a risk of there for the Panhandle once again, or isolated threat for some showers. High pressure sitting right over the Kenai Peninsula now. So dry conditions. Now that the weekend's done, partly to mostly sunny skies. Isolated thunderstorms or showers developing here over the mountainous terrain, Copper River Basin, Alaska Range, and along this trough here extending southward. Look for some scattered showers, maybe some isolated thunderstorms as well. Most concentrated along that trough axis. A little cooler, drier back to the west with some sunshine. And Yukon Flats looking pretty good. Arctic coast, central areas, Barrow to maybe New Ixit. Isolated chance of some light rain or snow showers. And then this very weak front here continues, sliding eastward a little bit there. So breaking out dry conditions, maybe some clearing Adak and Atka. Isolated showers on Alaska and along the Alaska Peninsula, mostly south side, partly cloudy or partly sunny for Kodiak and the southwest coast on up to the Seward Peninsula. Temperatures of the Panhandle today, warmest down to the south where there was more sunshine. Stewart 77 degrees, Ketchikan 72, and Annette also 64 over at Sitka, and Skagway up to 60, 63 in Yakutat, otherwise down into the 40s now. Cordova 49. Just 41 degrees in Seward there. Homer at 51, 10 degrees warmer. Upper 40s now for Kodiak Island at the state airport. Palmer just 46, but Kenai 53, 55 Gulkana. Lower 60s here, central Tanana Valley, and also for Delta and Tanana. McGrath 59, 62 at Fort Yukon, and not quite reaching 60 there at Bettles, 50 degrees Anatuvik. Arctic coast, mid to upper 30s, central and east side. Mid 40s to the west, then back into the mid to upper 30s here to near 40 with Kotzebue right at 40 degrees, 44 Nome. Upper 50s, as I mentioned, McGrath fall into the lower 50s as you head down the rivers. Upper 40s along the coast, 36 Savunga, and lower to mid 40s for the Pribilof, central and eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula in the 40s. Lows tonight, 30s all through this area to near 40 around Atka. 30s mid to falling a little below freezing for St. Lawrence Island. Upper 20s, mid 20s to lower 30s up across the North Slope and Arctic coast. Pretty mild there over the upper Yukon Valley areas. Lows in the upper 40s to lower 50s for the Panhandle. And for highs tomorrow, again, 65 to 72, call it here over the eastern interior. Probably not quite so warm down over the southern southeast coast, looking at mid 60s now. 40s out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. 50s south central Alaska. Flying weather, IFR here, pretty extensive up along the north coast, especially to the west, down to the north side of the Seward Peninsula. Marginal VFR here, right along the Pribilofs, VFR to the east, marginal to the west, IFR just approaching Attu Island. IFR possible on the eastern slopes and southern slopes of the Alaska Range there, otherwise a lot more widespread over the Panhandle, especially in the south. Then for tomorrow, improving down in that area, becoming VFR, marginal all along the coast, inland, Prince William Sound, VFR Cook Inlet, lingering marginal conditions here along the western Alaska Range on the eastern slopes. IFR, northern Bering Sea, less IFR up here over the North Slope and Arctic coast, but hanging just off the coast through here. Lots of marginal VFR, western Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Anatuvik, occasional marginal VFR at times, same forecast for Adigan. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal at times tomorrow, kind of hanging on into the afternoon. Again, east side will be the lowest and best chance of seeing that. Same forecast for rainy. Windy, just a risk or a chance of some marginal VFR in the southern entrance. Otherwise not looking too bad. For Isabel and Tanita, both VFR. And as I mentioned, Tanita VFR Portage, marginal. Chilcoot and White, marginal VFR, freezing levels, cold pool aloft here, that upper level low sliding eastward. So late tonight, early tomorrow morning, 2,000 feet, Kodiak Island is sit in a valley. Much warmer up over the eastern interior as well as the southern southeast coast. For icing, not really anything serious. Possible area right here, Prince William Sound to the Wrangell Mountains. Also a swath right through here, a little more continuous precipitation up over the north and northwest areas, and also for the Aleutians. Upper level wind flow chart, 33,000 feet. Big trough out here over the Bering Sea. One branch, only about 40 to 50 knots here, but cyclonic flow right in across the central interior. South to north flow over the Panhandle. Again, that's carrying that moisture right in for the chance of precipitation. 9,000 feet, just 15 to 20 knots here, well off the coast, otherwise lighter for the Panhandle. 45 knots, eastern Arctic coast, mostly off the coast there, and then 20 to 30 knot winds with that low out west. for the 3,000 feet. About the same pattern, less wind though, call it 15 to 25, maybe 30 around that low center, really falling back, light and variable along the coast. Trough through here, light variable winds, south to southeast, maybe 15. Eastern Arctic coast, 40 knots out of the east, and light winds off the panhandle. Turbulence-wise, not too much, just the packing of the gradient here along the Alaska Range. Northern southeast coast, all for smaller aircraft, and Prince William Sound to Turnagain Arm. Eastern central Arctic coast, a little more extensive up there with the stronger winds, and out towards Chimionat too. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider. As you well know, you can get forecast information for any day of the week. Today, tonight, tomorrow, out to 6 or 7 days. It includes the high and low temperature, the wind direction, the chance of rain or snow in your part of Alaska. But did you know that there is information available to forecast out to 2 weeks? So the question is, how would you use that information? And here to answer that question today and tell us a lot more about climate services from the U.S. National Weather Service Alaska region is Rick Thoman. He's the program manager for the Climate Science and Services. And Rick, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
How would we use information that is out to 2 weeks instead of just the high and low and the chance of rain?
Well, Dave, as we move out in time, of course, forecasts become more uncertain. So as we move into that second week from now, we're not looking at specific highs or lows or precipitation amounts at any given place. What we can do with the state of the science at this point is get a handle on patterns. So we can say things like increased chances for stormy weather in the Bering Sea in 2 weeks, or we've been in a cold weather pattern, looks like 8 to 10 days from now, that pattern's going to change. Those are the kind of forecasts that we can currently make in that second week.
So you're increasing lead time for perhaps big or small weather events and telling us the likelihood of maybe more coastal storms or wind events in some areas?
Those are the kinds of things that that we hope to be able to let Alaskans know in the second week forecast. And if you have an activity or an event that you would find that kind of advance notice useful, whether it's moving stuff off of the beach, whether to go out hunting or to come back from camp, those kind of decisions, the week 2 provides the opportunity for you to get a handle on that kind of information.
Okay. What other type of weather impacts that we're familiar with might Alaskans use climate services for?
Well, in the forecast realm, we can go provide some information from this week 2, say the 8 to 14 day period, on out to the monthly and even seasonal time scale. Now, those monthly seasonal forecasts are still kind of just really very much pattern dependent, and the amount of detail that we can provide at this point is still pretty limited. Generally, indications of how temperature and precipitation will fall in maybe above normal, below normal kind of range. But in the week 2 period, we can be considerably more specific than that as far as the general patterns and really the impacts on Alaskans.
Okay, so we would be talking about generalizations there that would tell us that the period might be more stormy, might be more hot, more dry, more cold, and situations like that.
That's correct. So we're not going to be able to say in which community, for instance, there's the threat of coastal flooding, but we can often be able to tell we're moving into a pattern that would be conducive to big Bering Sea storms. So if you're in an area that could potentially impact you, you'll want to pay attention to the weather forecast.
Okay. Now, every day and every hour of the day, the National Weather Service is working on a forecast for the next day. But how do you start your forecast process for that extended period that goes out beyond 7 days?
Well, the way things work right now, we start off with the expected general flow pattern for Alaska and the whole world, really, and then we narrow that down to Alaska. So we start off with the basic computer model forecast. There's quite a few different computer models that we look at, bring those together. And then another important part of that is we attempt to assess the confidence. The reality is often 2 weeks away, The computer models are very divergent. They have lots of different solutions, and that's an indication that we don't have much confidence. But when we see more agreement in that time frame, and when that agreement is a pattern that will be potentially very impactful for Alaska or is a big change from what we've been in, that's when we can then take that expected pattern. We have computer models forecasting it. We've assessed the confidence. Now we can move that forward. How? Using our experience as Alaskan weather forecasters, how does that typically play out for Alaska? So is this a stormy pattern for the Bering Sea? Is this an extra rainy period for Southeast? Is this the kind of pattern that generates strong winds potentially in the Anchorage Bowl? Is this a deep cold pattern for the interior? All of those are the kind of things that we're looking at in these large-scale patterns. That's very different than telling you that the winds on 10 days from now are going to be gusting to 120 on the hillside. We're looking for patterns, not the very specific information that the Weather Service will then hone in on as the event gets closer.
So the idea is to keep the 5, 6, 7 day forecast the same, where you are getting the standard high and low temperature and the chance of wind or rain, but further out you get a broad general forecast, but as the time gets closer to that event, we'll get a lot more specific.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. So how can people use this information if I am out in the bush and I want to see, is a coastal storm expected in my region, or is a chance for that improving over the next 2 to 3 weeks? Where could I go to get information like that?
When we see that potentially impactful or a big change in the weather is coming 8 to 14 days out, typically we will start to highlight that on the Weather Service Facebook site. We might produce a YouTube video highlighting that, linking that on our Facebook site. So often we don't, at this point, we don't have much to say in that because we're really looking for those forecasts of opportunities. But one thing we can say very likely as we go through the next 2 or 3 years, there'll be more and more of this kind of forecast information available in that week 2 time frame.
Okay, and something that emergency managers and city planners and folks in villages might be interested in keeping an eye out for, looking for that information to be headlined, whether that's on social media or perhaps through the National Weather Service channels there to get information from you to make better plans a little bit longer term and make better preparations in the event that things become a little bit more unsettled.
Absolutely. Climate Services with the National Weather Service Alaska region is talking to the state of Alaska every week, apprising them of that 2-week outlook, and on the social media side, we are working to keep Alaskans informed so that when we think we have some confidence in a high impact or a big change, that's the best way right now for folks to find out about that. Twitter, Facebook, so stay tuned to your National Weather Service.
Very good, a developing program. Rick Thoman with the National Weather Service Alaska region. He's a Climate Science and Services Program Manager. Thanks so much for joining us again, Rick, and I hope to have you back again soon.
Great, thanks, Dave.
For another edition of Alaska Weather Facts, I'm meteorologist Dave Snider. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back. Not too much on the wind here. It looks like the strongest winds will actually be on the inside waters. Northern Lynn Canal, 20 knots. Clarence Strait northwest at 20, otherwise south 15 along the coast. Seas only 4 feet, both Monday and Tuesday out here, but more of a southeast light breeze. And northerlies over the inside waters 15 to as high as 20 knots for Clarence Strait, with maybe seas up to 4 feet. Prince William Sound, light southeast winds tomorrow, light southwest breeze, 15 knots up Cook Inlet, turning southeast for Kachemak Bay. Variable winds here, Kodiak Island, up across all of the North Gulf Coast with 4 to 5 foot seas. Then on Tuesday, picking up, small craft advisories out of the northeast here across Kodiak Island to Shelikof Strait, 15 to 20 knots, Kachemak Bay and the Barrens. North 15 south of the Forelands, light variable winds, northern Cook Inlet, light to northwest 10 for Prince William Sound. And for Bristol Bay, light southerlies tomorrow, otherwise easterlies 15 to 20 knots here for the Alaska Peninsula. Strongest on the Pacific side, right on up to Sitkinak. Then for Tuesday, east 10 to 15, as high as 20 knots on the south side of the peninsula, Castle Cape to Sitkinak, small craft advisories. Fox Islands, east to southeast there, especially toward Nikolsky, 15 to 20 knots, south to southwest, 15 to 20 for the central Aleutians, small craft advisories for the western zone. Northwest, 20 knots, and then south 15, central Aleutians, southeast, south to southeast, 15 to 20 for the Fox Islands. Southwest coast from St. Lawrence Island, north 15, south of Nunivak Island, east 15, northeast 20 for the northern Bering Sea. That holds through Tuesday, picking up to 20 knots out of the east for the Pribilofs, otherwise looking at 15-knot winds. Now, the strongest winds in the forecast anywhere will be on the eastern Beaufort Sea coast here, 25 to as high as 30 knots tomorrow over toward Demarcation Point. And then for Tuesday, those come back down. Now we're looking at easterly winds 15 to 20 knots there from Demarcation Point all the way to the central coast, northwest 10 to 15, down the west coast there, actually all the way to the Bering Strait. Looking at tonight's weather again, we've got a weakening frontal boundary, but south to north flow really not moving much, keeps the rain in, but lighter, becoming less continuous, but still cloudy here, Prince William Sound over to about Cape Yakataga, westward to the Alaska Range, down into northeast Bristol Bay. Another weak front bringing some rain, holding it over the central Aleutians. And actually a chance of showers tonight over the southern southeast coast, Prince of Wales Island area, some of that moisture slipping on in. And then for tomorrow, that should start to improve in the afternoon, maybe some sunshine down there. Otherwise, partly to mostly day, more clouds as you head north, showers possible, North Gulf Coast. Less of that here than what we've seen the last couple of days over south central Alaska. Some rain and showers up to the northwest. More rain with this, again, weakening front starting to bring a little more moisture into the Fox Islands, but high pressure, light winds, northern Bering Sea. And the outlook for Tuesday, that front edges eastward there, but weakening so much it's having a hard time bringing anything more than showers to the eastern Aleutians and Alaska Range. Mostly sunny, partly too. South Bristol Bay up into south central Alaska, otherwise scattered showers. Have a great evening.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX Brief for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.